I'm Rob Lord. I'm the CEO of Pioneers of the Inevitable. We're a company here in San Francisco that developed Songbird, which is a desktop media player that plays the web. It mashes up the web. Right now we're focused on music. You could say audio, but when you say audio, that's at least 5 things. That's audiobooks, that's radio, that's direct downloads, it's all kinds of things actually. When we say video, you actually mean about 20 different value chains. Music videos are different than movies, different than television series, and so on. So we're really a desktop media player, but we're focusing on the user experience pretty much around music. I mean, we love music too, so I think it's a great place to start. Apple is, as far as I can tell, and certainly I'm not, I don't work at Apple, interested in owning the entire end-to-end user experience. They're very much interested in the vertically integrated silo, that the iTunes Store works not just seamlessly but exclusively with iTunes, and iTunes works not just seamlessly but exclusively with Apple's set of devices. That's a vertically integrated silo. What Songbird proposes is the opposite, is the other extreme. We're a horizontal. We believe in a digital media value chain that's segmented and multi-vendor, where there's one piece kind of in the middle called the web player, and Songbird is the open source, open standards, open web player. And it's the desktop software that users use to amass, to interoperate, to integrate with services and to integrate their devices. We plan to do a full 1.0 release next year, about the middle of next year, middle of 2008. But today, as of 2 days ago, as of October 30th, we've released our Songbird 0.3 developer pre-release, which means that all the APIs are there, the web page API for the Ajax heads to mash up their media services, or to mash up any, for that matter. Again, download stores, subscription services, radio services, video services, music blogs, podcasts, to mix those all up and make really compelling services. That's ready today. Also, the Firefox extension developers can port those 2,000 to 3,000 add-ons over to the platform, do some really cool stuff there. And the Winamp heads, too, who've done skinning and plugins, can start moving their stuff over as well. So today is the day where the developers really get on this, and about 6 months from now, we'll get up to that sort of feature parity with the desktop features. It's not stuff that people really care about anymore, but it does make for a full, robust media player. And then we'll be ready to do the consumer-facing release. That we really believe in the open source, open standards, open web approach. I mean, we did notice about iTunes, and for that matter, every other desktop media player, that the software would only communicate with those services that were made by the same company. This isn't just an Apple thing. This is across the industry. It reminded us a lot of like America Online, CompuServe, and Prodigy back in the day. Of course, the web came along with Mosaic and separated that software from service. So we're trying to bring that same innovation, that same path to users of desktop media players. And it turns out that the usage of desktop media players is almost on par with web browsers. But the experience is more like the days of AOL. So Songbird, in a way, is a lot like Mosaic, that early web browser that separated software from service. Like Netscape, it was a platform you could actually build a business on. And now also like Firefox, in the sense that it's open source, open standards, open web. We focus on user utility. We focus on community direction. Well, any of those 2,000 to 3,000, I think it is, Firefox extensions is really easy to port to Songbird. We're built on the same Mozilla stack as Firefox. You can think of us as sort of like Firefox with its interface pulled off, a bunch of new guts put in, a media library, a device API, things like that, and then a new interface that looks not entirely like iTunes, but sort of similar, but that actually surfs the web. Here it is where I'm navigating a web page, and to actually buy an MP3, I click a button on this web page. At that point, I go through a purchase process. That's followed by a download using a downloader that Amazon specifically made. It's pretty good. And then I move those files into my media player, or sometimes Amazon's smart enough to know if it knows what media player I'm using to make that stuff work. But in any case, it's a lot of complicated stuff. So what we did is we wrote a Grease Monkey script that actually changes this page after it's loaded. And all I have to do is click Grease Monkey on there. And the script that we wrote is less than a page long. And when I do a reload, you can see what happens. The web page is up top, so I'm reading all the good content that reviews and whatnot that Amazon aggregates. And then below, I actually have a playlist that is the same looking kind of playlist. I see my library and my playlists on my devices and so on. If anyone who's used a desktop media player has seen a playlist like this before, you'll notice that on each row, there's a buy button. So now I'm one click away, simply one click away from purchase, putting it into a folder called purchase, perhaps, adding it to the downloader, and maybe even playing that. If this web page were actually even aware of that it was running in Songbird, which it isn't actually right now, but if it were, and that could be done by one line of JavaScript to detect that, one line of JavaScript could say, would you like to play this starting right now on all the devices connected around your phone? Would you like to sync this up with your mobile device that's connected there? Another line of JavaScript that Amazon might have would be, hey, do you mind sharing the contents of, say, your purchase playlist or maybe even your whole media library with us so that we can personalize the shopping experience to you? I can show you an example here where I'm on any music blog, and any music blog Songbird will find the media files and create the same playlist, the same hybrid view with web page above and playlist below that you see in any of the desktop media players, iTunes included. But these aren't stores, but we turn them into stores. So now every music blog actually has an Amazon purchase link or an eMusic purchase link, or whomever that user would like to be shopping from, or if that music blog implements our web page API, they can actually make a direct link to a store to purchase that track as well, which is really important. The MP3 blogs right now and shoutcast streaming radio stations and podcasts are all looking for ways to monetize this, not just sort of give away free MP3s and be sort of in the gray there. It turns out that record labels sometimes want it up there for promotion, but would prefer it not to dissuade actually in purchasing. So this notion of music blogs being able to write about it, being able to reference it, but then also providing a real convenient way to buy it is a really powerful thing, I think. You might have a Sonos device, or you might have another device. You might have Logitech just bought the company Slim Devices. D-Link has some interesting devices out there. There's a company Receiva, it's really big in Europe, that has a number of devices out there. Also, there are a lot of services, as you're well aware. There are Pandora's interesting radio service, eMusic's a great a la carte store. Amazon MP3 is a really great music store now. There are a lot more. In fact, we think of them as different classes of services. There are download stores, subscription services, radio services, video services, social networking services, a lot of those. There are recommendation services, there are locker services. I think there are probably even another half dozen classes out there that just don't even have names yet. And the issue here is that how can one desktop media player, imagine one desktop media player working with that whole range of services and that whole range of devices. That value proposition is vastly different, is as different from online services that came before the web to the web vision. It took about 10 years, maybe a little bit less, for the web to completely overtake the online services. We think that the open media web, if you will, and Songbird as the client, as the user agent of the open media web, may have a similar kind of success in the digital media space, but over a shorter period of time because just there's so much activity going on already. We are a venture-backed company. Sequoia Capital and Atlas Ventures are in. We've got a great board of directors that includes Mika Salmi, who ran Atom Films. He was here in San Francisco. After that, became Atom Shockwave, was acquired by Viacom. Jim Pitkow, who's a really brilliant guy. Also Mark Young, who was previously at Fox Interactive, basically ran MySpace. A bunch of really talented guys.
So when you launch your Songbird 1.0,
yeah,
which band is going to play?
I'll tell you what.
Which is your for you?
That's. It's got to be Radiohead, right? They just released an album, and so how crazy is this, right? You could buy the album directly from the band, but you had to do it through your web browser and setting up an account and download a zip file and all this kind of crazy stuff. Meanwhile, Apple has sold 3 billion tracks, just click and it's actually there. The fact that the technology isn't in place for me to be able to buy tracks directly from Radiohead is insane. When U2 went on stage with Steve Jobs, and this is U2 going on Steve Jobs' stage, not Steve Jobs going on U2's stage, and Bono says, and you'll have to go back and check what he said. I think he might have said, "We're here to kiss corporate arse," and then to paraphrase said, it's just amazing. There he is on Steve Jobs' stage, and he says, "It's a beautiful day. You can buy our music online. You just go to the Apple Store. You go to Steve Jobs' store, You can access Steve Jobs' store through Steve Jobs software. You'll need to make an account with Steve Jobs. You need to give your credit card information to Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs sets the pricing. Actually, we're not in control of that. We're not going to know anything about your account information. If you want to take it off your computer, you'll buy a device from Steve Jobs. And frankly, if you ever want to do anything again with your media that you just bought, it's more hardware and more software from Steve Jobs. So basically, I mean, what he's saying is from my microphone and the Edge's amplifier all the way through to the little white buds in your ears is Steve Jobs. That's just an incredible state of thing. I mean, the media industry alone has often said we never want to see another MTV, another bottleneck on this marketplace. And instead of just being a bottleneck on marketing, it's like a bottleneck across the entire value chain that we're experiencing now. So as great as the user experience is, and I'm a big Apple fan, I think they've done a tremendous job in creating that seamless experience. It's a bar that's set so high that no other company has even remotely met it, to be honest. From a user perspective, from a user utility and experience perspective. So there's only one other solution, which is all of us getting together, building this digital media value chain, and making the user experience for users at least as good as what that is. And frankly, I think the aggregate utility of all those services and devices, so long as they're interoperable, is actually way more compelling than what Apple's offered.